Peace, power, prosperity. Rob Blackstorm is in the building. Shout out to Guy Brisson coming in early. Peace and love to every soul in here. All right. Want to get started? I have the lovely Divine Feminine Works in the building. Oh, my thing is not up to my stream deck. Oh, my stream deck is updated. I'm sorry, Mel. I can't give you the vocal claps, but I'm gonna give you these claps right here. Welcome
Thank
to Divine
you.
Feminine Works. Mel in the building. How was your week, Mel?
It was good. How was yours?
I can't complain. It was busy, hectic, but it was productive. I will say that it was very productive. A lot of good things. Shout out to your reading, yo. Like your reading that you gave me, Mel's Services, Divine Feminine Work Services, because everything you're saying is like is playing out the same way
Is
that
it?
Progress Natal Report is playing out to the T. Like right now, it's like just started. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's playing out. So things are happening the way they should. So very grateful and
Nice.
thankful.
I'm
Yeah.
very happy to hear
Go
that.
check
Very happy to
Mel.
hear that.
Go check Divine Feminine Works. Go get your natal chart read. Go get your progress chart read, so you can get some extra insight on what's going on. You can get these things from free websites and all that, but it's also good. Mel Divine Feminine Works. She's an astro scientist. So because she's a scientist, you're able to see, exactly what she gives, and she's able to dissect exactly what you need. It looks like I got a little delay here, but we're gonna keep it moving. I don't know what's going on. StreamYard's been acting crazy lately. I don't
And
know
I
if they're
apologize
rebelling.
on my end because it's a thunderstorm right now, and my dog is like losing her mind, scratching the door, barking. So if you hear a lot of that, that's what that is.
That's all right. I'm just praying that in my neighborhood, the Dominicans don't go crazy and start pumping the music. So it's like literally they happen to stop maybe 10 minutes. I was like, oh Lord, I hope, and then they stop. So let's hope it keeps going. So definitely welcome Phil, welcome J Rock. All right, we're gonna
Hello,
get started.
everybody. What's going on?
Yeah. So welcome back, y'all. Let's get it started, Mel. Let's get it started. So this week has been a week of revelations. Last week, the whole thing with the Dalai Lama. We all know what happened with the Dalai Lama, that wretched, repulsive act that he did, live for everyone to see on the internet. We had, I don't know if you saw the Elon Musk story, but there was a reporter that Elon Musk was talking about, and the reporter was like, well, you have a lot of offensive things that's on Twitter ever since you took over. And Elon Musk asked the reporter, well, give me an example of some of these, things that are offensive and, since I took over. And the reporter was, dilly dallying and dancing around. Well, it's just, I'm not on Twitter like that anymore. He said, all right, but you said there's many, so give me one example. And the reporter couldn't give him any examples. So it kind of exposed how the media runs with these stories and fallacies and then feeds them to the masses as fact. And then people, of course, monkey see, monkey do, they regurgitate it as fact itself. And then, it's like the telephone game, we played in school where you say one thing to the person next to you. By the time it goes back around, it's a whole nother story. So is there anything in the stars that is causing a lot of these revelations, or is it just, the age of Aquarius, the times that we're in, that's causing a lot of these, because it's a lot of eye-opening stuff, even with like money and financial industry, a lot of eye-opening stuff is happening.
hmm I would say I don't necessarily think it's anything specifically in the astrology. I think it's just everyone's waking up. I think that it's just the age of information and you're able to fact check things now. Like, I think people are just becoming more cognizant of what's really out there and becoming aware of the fact that a lot of what we've been fed just isn't true.
Definitely. Well, let's get started with the new moon in Aries popping up, along with the lunar eclipse, right, on the same day within the same window. They believe
Mhm.
it's 9:37 Eastern time on Thursday. 420 is also marijuana day. Shout out to the smokers out there. So that's the day people roll up and light it up. No judgment, no hate. I probably participate in those festivities myself. Uh, but what I wanted to say is the irony of this new moon. Well, first of all, it's the second new moon, a full moon in Aries. Then we have a new moon in Aries, right? How does that even happen? Let's first of all talk about that. How does that even happen?
Because the cycle of the moon is 28 days, you're going to have
Hmm.
some months where you have new moons in the same sign in the same month. So that typically happens. I'm not quite sure how often it happens, but it's not a unheard of occurrence. Like it happens fairly regularly, like every year or every year and a half or something like that.
Okay, that's perfect. That's perfect. So
Yeah.
that makes sense. That makes a
Mhm.
lot of sense. So
And sometimes I feel
now
like it's the universe's way of like reiterating something. Like sometimes I
that's what I
feel
was going
like,
to ask you.
yeah, like I feel like it's the universe's way of like, okay, I said this and I'm saying it again. Like we need an emphasis on this right now.
That's what I was going to ask you because it feels like with this new, like being that Aries is the new year, right? The real new year, the natural new year, nature's new year, right? When things are in spring, things are in bloom, things are in blossom. This is now when now they're having Aries with this solar eclipse, right? Which is Aries, that Mars energy, that warrior energy, that hot energy, that fiery energy, fire element energy, that initiating type of energy. And now the with the solar eclipse, right? So that's the sun, right? Solar eclipse, and now you have this energy, but it's also the sun in Taurus as well that day. Sun goes into Taurus that day.
Hmm.
So it's a lot of like ram, bull. Talk to us about what we should be looking at and looking for this new moon and that day in particular, being that it's a lunar eclipse. And it's all within the same window when the eclipse happens, the new moon is at its peak also. It's just like and it's the month of Ramadan, so it's a lot of just spiritual energy. We just had Easter this month, right? So it's just a lot
Hmm.
of high vibrational. But also on the flip side, right? Before I finish the question, like there's a lot of violence taking place because of the heat being early, right? New York, there was like a ton of shootings. We just had a couple 80 degrees days here in New York, and it was
Which
like,
is wild to me.
yeah, like shootings galore, like out of nowhere, like people just getting shot left and right. So, with that same warrior and aggressive energy, a lot of people are quote unquote demon time as well. So yeah, what should we look for and look at positively and negatively on that day, and how we could gird ourselves and manifest the things that we want on that day as well.
So it's like you said before, it's that spring energy, it's that new energy, and the eclipse is happening. So the eclipse is going to be sort of close to the North Node, which is still in Taurus, and it's also going to be close to Jupiter and Chiron in Aries. So it's this energy of really starting something new and being bold about it. And I feel like once Jupiter got into Aries, that was like the flavor of the season, right? And Jupiter typically stays in a sign for like 6 months. So this is sort of the theme that we're in generally. And new moons are all about new beginnings. That's when you plant the seeds, that's when you set the intentions. Now, because it's an eclipse, it's a little bit of a different flavor because eclipses is kind of like the universe's way of doing shit for you. It's one of those things. I personally believe, like, you'll have a lot of other practitioners who'll say, if you know how to work with the energy, then do whatever you do your rituals, whatever. But I feel like
Mm-hmm.
eclipse time is a time where you surrender, because usually it's some wild shit that usually be happening around eclipse time. It's, things that you would never have imagined. It's things that maybe you've been struggling with that you just couldn't do yourself. Again, it's like a helping hand from the universe. So it's really just a time to surrender and see what abundance is actually going to come through. Now, abundance is not necessarily like, winning lotto ticket is going to fall into your lap, or you're going to get in the back of an Uber and find a suitcase with $2 million, right? Although it could be, but typically it's not. Usually abundance presents itself
Right.
in the form of opportunities. And so, whenever we're talking about eclipses, whether it's a solar eclipse, which happens at the new moon, or a lunar eclipse, which happens at the full moon, there's always this energy of things ending and things beginning. Like the line becomes very blurred between those two when we're talking about eclipses. So if we're talking about abundance coming up, right, and it's coming up with opportunities. Okay, now opportunities can come from something just popping up, right? Something materializing. It could also come from something ending, and now you have a void that needs to be filled, right? What's interesting about this eclipse is that it's going down in Aries. And this is going to be a sneak peek of what basically 2023 into 2025 is going to look like, because we have the lunar nodes switching signs in July of this year. So since the end of 2021, the nodes have been in Taurus and Scorpio. But now, come July, they're going to be in Aries and Libra. And these are the two signs where we're going to be seeing eclipses
Mm,
happening for the next 18 months, essentially. And this is the start of it. Okay. So, this is a great time to
mm,
memorialize what happens right now, because this is a story, or this is a theme, or this is a situation that's going to play out over the next like year and a half. And so, and it all depends on where it's going down in your
wow.
chart, right? So let's say you've got Aries as your second house, which means that you're a Pisces rising. So money is going to be a theme for you over the next 18 months, right? And so Aries is all about starting things. New moon solar eclipse is about setting new intentions, planting new seeds, all that good stuff. Let's say that this week, and I don't wish this on anybody, you get laid off. You have absolutely no job. Now, what are you going to do? This allows you to take your abundance, literally your wealth, your fortune, your security, all of that stuff into your own hands and start something new, right? And again, it's not like, let's say you've been intending to make more money. I'm pretty sure you didn't intend that by getting fired or getting laid off, right? But this is the universe's way of giving you a helping hand to give you an opportunity to create abundance in your life. Okay. It's also going to be interesting because there's two other issues that sort of come with this energy. Number one, because the eclipse is going down very close to Chiron, this is going to bring up a lot of emotional issues. Okay. So there's this element of healing that goes along with this particular solar eclipse. I feel like issues that may bring up feelings related to anger, resentment, or even hate may come up because of that Aries sort of warrior energy, right? So it's going to be a bit emotional. There's going to be an element of healing. But I also think that a lot of this creative energy is going to come from strife, because Aries is really the knuck if you buck sign. This is like fights, disputes. This is really people popping off, like all of that Aries type of energy. Like there's going to be abundance in those kind of things if you are willing to find it, right? Like, again, because we can never talk, I've gotten to the point where you can't just talk about one sign without talking about its polar opposite, because everything is, they're both the
Mm,
different sides of the same coin, right? So you can't talk about Aries without talking about Libra. Libra is all about relationships. That's why Aries is so combative, because Aries is being faced with itself. You're being faced with yourself via Libra. Our
mm,
relationships are a direct reflection of ourselves. And that's why sometimes it sparks anger, it sparks resentment, because we're being mirrored, right? Whatever we're thinking about ourselves, whatever we believe about ourselves is being mirrored back to us. And so I feel like many relationships are going to come to a head. Like there may be like strife and conflict and confrontation in some of the relationships that you have. Of course, it depends on where this is going down in your chart. But there's opportunity in strife. I always say iron sharpens iron. And you don't build
right.
character by, living the same thing, right? They say the best sailors are made during storms. And this, I feel like that's sort of the undercurrent of this particular eclipse. So, and of course it all depends on how you look at it, right? You could be like, oh, so and so, like I have these problems with so and so. But if you're not seeing the deeper message, if you're not seeing the role that you play within it, if you're not saying, okay, what can come of this, then you're kind of just letting the energy use you instead of using the energy. So I feel like it's going to be a real
Mm,
positivity can definitely come out of this eclipse, but it's all about your perspective, basically.
right. Yeah. Eclipses are. I remember the last major eclipse. I think it was in 2017. I might be wrong, but it was like a major eclipse that you could see on the eastern seaboard. Like I
It was
remember leaving work
2017. It was
and
the
going
summer.
outside and looking at it. I believe it was 2017.
Yep.
Yep, I remember that. Yep, and going out. It was a small window, and people was
Hmm.
like, don't look at it, don't look at it." You know me, Scorpio. I'm a rebel, so I want to know the mystery. So I looked dead at it, like for the whole time period, right? And after I came in, like my eyes were like starry for a little bit, but I looked at it, and but I do remember like shortly after that, like my energy was heightened, like my perception, like my natural perception of people and their intentions. Even I was working doing sales, which I do now, but working in a different place. And I remember I was able to like convince people easier. Like people like, okay, like I'd have like one rebuttal and they're like, okay, that makes sense. Let me sign up. Or they would call in like, I just want to sign up. What do I need to do? So it was like things were getting kind of easier. You know, when the sun is in play, light is information, and also light is electromagnetic. So when they say, a lot of times they tell you don't look at these things and don't focus in on these things because they don't want you to be able to take advantage of your natural power, because we're one with nature. So being that we are one with nature, when things like eclipses, especially a lunar eclipse or solar eclipse, I should say, dealing with the soul's energy. So dealing with bringing up certain things. So as you said, if you are a person that is low vibrational by nature, right? You're caught up in the gossip. You're worried about, the Fed now, or the BRICS, you losing money, all these different things, what the Dalai Lama's doing, and all these different things that's happening. Not to say you shouldn't be aware, but if those are the things that you're focused on, Agenda 21, and what's going to happen, and you're just fearful, then the eclipse is going to manifest and magnify that energy, because light is electromagnetic. So with the solar eclipse, you're going to have a stronger current of that energy here on the planet on Thursday. Not to mention it's 420 day, so people are going to be high, right? So it's literally like the sun is a portal anyway. The sun is a portal, and the sun has what they call black body radiation. So behind the sun is behind everything is darkness. It's what we call a shadow. So the sun has a shadow itself. So when this sun is putting out energy during the eclipse, and it is a new moon, right? That energy, and it's two volatile animals, animated energies, which would be the ram and the bull. It's a time where you really have the opportunity to put things into the universe. Even if you're going to be smoking on that good weed, right? Smoking on those good trees, you want to use it as a sacrament that day, especially. You
Hmm.
want to have your vision board. You want to visualize, right? This is the time right now this week to, if you don't have a vision board, to create a vision board. This is because it's,
Hmm.
again, solar. So it's what's outside, right? Yeah, there's great times for shadow work and you could do all that, but this ain't really the best time for shadow work. This is the time for manifestations. Remember, this is literally the new year. You see the birds, you hear the bees, right? You see the sun, you know it's getting hot, right? East Coast weather is turned up right now. It was supposed to be raining yesterday. It didn't rain here in New York. It's supposed to rain today. It didn't rain here in New York. It's warm. I got the AC on right now in April. Like that's almost impossible for out here. In March, sorry. What are we in April? Yeah, we got the AC on. That's almost impossible. So not to be long winded, but I want also, there's going to be people that are going to be acting crazy because people are on that low vibration. They're going to be extra fearful. They're going to be extra worried. There's probably going to be some news story within the next, I give it 2 to 3 days, that's going to come out that's going to be very distracting. It's going to make people worrisome and fearful. You have to rise above that and realize that you are the light, and focus on the things and the needs and the I don't want to say just base desires, but and just make sure it's within your ring or your sphere of influence, because we have a lunar eclipse now on May 5th, which we want to talk about also a little bit, where now that shadow work is going to come into play. But if you don't know what you want, if you don't know where your soul's trying to go, if you don't know your purpose, if you don't have any idea or direction, moving in the wind, wherever the wind takes me, wherever the news takes me, wherever the new news story is going to take me, wherever the new social media trend is going to take me, you're going to get swept up and you're going to end up in the masses. This is a time where you have to be in the world but not of the world, right? You could look at the
Yeah.
stories, you could pay attention to what's going on, but you have to have a concrete idea. Okay, I need this in order to become a better person. Not I need a Bentley just to have a Bentley. Not I need a big house just to have a big house. What you gonna do with that big house? How you gonna pay the property taxes? How you gonna maintain Pedro and them taking care of your lawn, right? Or Hannah or whatever. I don't want to sound stereotypical, right? Or whatever, taking care of the lawn and paying the property tax and maintaining the house, right? You know, you want a Bentley. How you gonna pay for the gas, right? The premium gas you got to put in there, and the maintenance, and if it breaks down, getting the parts, right? So you got to think of all these things have to come into your sphere of awareness and make sure that these things make sense with where you are now. And that's what an eclipse in Aries season. That's what an eclipse when the sun is in Taurus. Taurus deals with money, it deals with finances, and it deals with values. Am I wrong, Mel?
Nope, not at all.
Money, finance, and values primarily. So April is also financial literacy month. I don't know if you guys know that, but April is financial literacy month as well. So these are the things that you want to get into your creativity. There was just a black boy who got accepted to like I think like 20 colleges, something crazy. His GPA was like off the hook. There was these two black girls who I believe they were in junior high or something like that. Figured out the Pythagorean theorem, right? Something the Egyptians, the
I saw that
Cometians
this week
already
too.
had put together, and Europeans took claim for it. But now they remixed it, right? You think those little girls is focused on what Cardi B's doing and Megan Thee Stallion's doing in order to come up with that type of calculation? Those type of calculations. This is the energy that we're in right now. But if you're focused on what the white man is doing, if you're focused on, what little Boosie is doing and Mano beefing with Troy Ave and all these stupid shit that's in the mix and the gossip, and the real distractions that you think are distractions because it's in the news and you feel like the aliens are coming and the reptilians are gonna get you and the shapeshifters are gonna get you. Well, guess what? They're gonna get you. And this lunar eclipse is gonna be the set off point that's gonna set off a lot of people's consciousness. You see it play out. You're going to see people's consciousness play out in real time because of the way people are thinking. So you have to definitely be on point and have a perspective on what your marathon is and what your goals are and where you're trying to go. Because on the flip side of everybody being distracted, everybody being in lack, everybody being in worry, everybody being fear, is you being in a high vibration and you being in a vibration of abundance, a vibration of joy, a vibration of gratitude, right? And this is the time when you tap into that energy. And everybody, and there's a lot of people that are also, fasting right now. So I just want to say with
Mhm.
those 2 days, really tap in and don't look at this energy like, oh, it's just a solar eclipse and yeah, it's a new moon and yeah, they're just in Aries and oh, that's deep, that's deep. But when are the aliens coming? What I'm saying? Like I heard this dude, Bell. I heard this dude. I'm gonna let you go with because I heard this dude on social media, man, and I was 10,000 likes. I was like, I almost threw my phone. He was talking about he was astral traveling, right? It was so silly. He said he was astral traveling in his body to take out astral demons, astral parasites. And I said, all he needed to do was like get a colonic or get some herbs, right? And get some tea, and he could have just, flush that shit out. He didn't need to do no astral traveling to do none of that. Like get some greens, eat some salad. Like he didn't need to do any astral traveling for none of that. But these people sell you all these like super califragilistic, expialidocious, space age. I saw some comments like, "Who are my astral parents? Who are my planetary parents?" Like we got to be practical, people. The rent is due on the first. The car payment is due on the fifth. The mortgage may be due on the second. Like,
Uh-huh.
come on, like. we need to build things. Like we need to create things. There's people out there that's doing that, but if we're still caught up in these base emotions and these base fears and this base gossip, our community, people that look like us, Mel, I noticed our focus. I know I'm going off, but spirits like,
Oh
interrupt me,
no,
stop me
go.
whenever you need to. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, the melanated community right now, we got to take responsibility. And especially with this Aries energy that's popping up and this eclipse energy, it's really like, what part do you play in this age of Aquarius for real, for real? Like, are you going to play the part of the jester and the comic, the follower, the fear monger, the fear sharer, right? Or are you going to take the part of the person that inspires, the person who motivates, the person who creates, the person who has goals? Like, what role are you going to play? The melanated community right now is ruled by four people. It's ruled by rappers. It's ruled by entertainers. It's ruled by athletes, and it's ruled by preachers and YouTubers, YouTube prophets. But nobody's creating anything but YouTube channels. Nobody's building anything or developing anything. Like, how many of us know what an EIN number is, what a stock is? You know what I'm saying? What CPI numbers are that are spiritual, that are metaphysical, that are into magic. The Jews know this. You know what I'm saying? The Asians know this. I was in a liquor store. I was out of the country. I was in a liquor store. And I went to the liquor store. He had I didn't get a chance to take a picture, but he had a whole like jade emperor, and he had his offerings, the oranges and everything right there, the candles lit in the middle of the liquor store. And you know who melanated people have in their house? Jesus. You might have a
Mm-hmm.
Baphomet, right? Into the occult. But most people have Jesus. Asian people, they got the little cat with the hat swinging. Indian people, they got Ganesha. You know what I'm saying? Ganesha, giving offerings to Ganesha. Black people got Jesus. It's sad. It's sad. So those of us that know better, we have to think better. And now with this eclipse energy, if you have blockages or poverty consciousness, it's okay. I was there at one point, right? I'm no better than you. I was there at one point thinking that the white man's holding us down and thinking that the government's always going to try to take from us, thinking that fiat currency is not what it thinking that fiat currency is, fake currency anyway. It's not backed by gold. We don't need it. I hate the exchange that I have to exchange money for goods. Money is evil. Only evil people and the Illuminati have it, right? Only the rich people are all evil. I get that. But what happens if you have the riches? What happens when you have the money? What happens when you are the creative of the new next YouTube, the next quantum version of YouTube, or the quantum version of Facebook, the quantum version, because those things are not going to last forever, right? Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube are going to eventually go the way of MySpace. They're already creating quantum computers that are cold, right? That they just came up with discovery, which means they already had it because they just put it out this week, where they're able to now have quantum computers in cold and warm environments. Sorry, because before you could only do quantum computing in cold, like where servers are in cold environments, but now they're able to bring them in warm environments. So that's going to change the game. It's going to change the social media game. It's going to change the game of how people um, interact with media. It's going to change the game of computers. It's going to change the game of media overall, right? So we need innovators in that space. We need people that have these divine blueprints. Go see Mel, get your chart done. Get your chart. Go see Mel, get your chart done. Get your progress chart. See what your purpose is. Understand what your purpose is. And focus on that. Focus on that. And do what you need to do to get there. Now, you may not be in a situation where you have any money right now. You may be homeless. You may be in your car sleeping. You may not have it. That's okay. You got to have a vision, though, because if you see it, then it can materialize. We got a solar eclipse in Aries. Aries is the initiator. It's the springtime. So don't not take advantage of this energy. People are going to be beefing. Relationships, like Mel said, the opposite is Libra. So relationships are going to break down. You're going to see people arguing. You might be in a relationship that you got to leave, that doesn't work for you. You got to be okay with that. And you got to let the person go in peace. Don't be hexing that person or doing something. Even if that person cheated on you when they did their dirty, let them go in peace. And if you can't make that right now, make a plan, write a script out, meditate on it. When you smoking that tree on Thursday, visualize that. When you making love on Thursday and Friday with your beloved, visualize that while you making love at the same time, right? Or while you nesting in each other's juices, right? Afterwards, right after, visualize what you want. And not only visualize, but feel the joy of having it. Because feeling is really the secret. It's not just the vision. A lot of people have vision boards, right? I'm sorry, Mel. I'm gonna stop after this.
No,
A lot of
no,
people
don't
have vision
stop. Don't
boards,
stop.
right? But they don't feel they don't feel the joy of what they're having. They don't feel the joy. So without that feeling, it's not really going to manifest, because we're electromagnetic, we're vibrational beings. So you have to have that vibration going out as well as with the vision. The vision, the thought, there's two different aspects of your consciousness. There's consciousness and your will, your thought. Okay, I need a new car, right? Because my old car is breaking down. So that's the consciousness and will. Now you have to have the vibration, the frequency of seeing yourself enjoying driving down the highway, seeing yourself enjoying pulling down the radio, letting the sunroof go on a nice sunny day, right? Like Mel said, listening, smelling the leather in the car, right? Whatever you need, just make sure it's within your sphere of circumference, right? If you don't have, if you are living in a hotel or living in your car, like you shouldn't be visualizing a mansion first and foremost, right? You want to make sure you have a nice place to live. First and foremost is comfortable within your sphere of
Actually, I would
influence,
disagree
because
with that.
yeah, mansion is possible. Okay, go
I would
ahead,
disagree
Mel.
with
Talk about it.
that. Because
Why you disagree? All right,
a lot of times we
because I
limit
think a
ourselves.
mansion is going to take longer to manifest. Okay, go ahead.
Right. But in the
I'm
meantime,
listening.
before you get the mansion, you'll get an apartment, then you get a house, then you get a mansion. Like you are setting yourself up for that domino effect. I mean, it all I say this, when it comes to
Okay.
manifesting and feeling it real, it depends on the person, right? Because if it a lot of times when we try to visualize things, the reason why we can't feel it is because we have resistance to it, or a logical brain gets in the way and
Mm,
says, yeah, no, this isn't going to happen. Like, why you, or like our old story comes up and it's like, no, that's never going to happen for me or whatever. However, I think that if you can push past that, don't limit yourself. Like there are stories of people who go from being homeless to being millionaires, multimillionaires, right? It's not to say I
that's
think
a
that
fact.
what comes in as reality is managing your expectations. Like it's going to be very hard to go from homeless to mansion between Monday and Friday, right? But if
Right,
it's something that you
right.
truly desire and you're willing to commit to it, it's the commitment and the consistency to the vision that I think most people lack. That takes discipline. It takes discipline to be like, listen, yes, I'm going to live in a mansion, and visualize it consistently, even when you're still in your car, even when you even get to an apartment, right? Because you may get to an apartment and be like, oh, I'm good or whatever. This is good for right now. No, you remain consistent and dedicated and committed to the vision. So if you can do that, I would say don't limit yourself. However, if you feel like you feel ridiculous saying, oh, I'm going to be in a mansion, if you feel fear, if you feel that resistance when you're trying to manifest something, then it's okay to scale it back a little bit, right? So maybe you work on an apartment first, and then you work on a house, and then you work on a mansion. But don't limit yourself because you think it's outlandish or ridiculous to set your sights on something that you think is factually impossible right now. Because the fact that you thought about it, the fact that you even had the desire means it exists already. That's what I love about us. That's what I love about who we are. That's what I love about being a divine being, is that the fact that I see it already means that it's already out there. I just have to align myself with that shit. So I say that I disagree because I say just don't limit yourself. And yes, you do have to be, I mean, you have to be realistic in the sense that, like I said, you're not going to be homeless on Monday and on Friday, you balling out of control, right? Like, unless you do some wild ass shit, which, hey, that could be part of the story too. I don't know. But I always feel like when it comes to manifesting, you have to suspend your disbelief, you have to suspend your logic, you have to suspend everything that ties you down, because that's how you end up getting things that you don't necessarily want, or limiting yourself to a life that's very contained because you couldn't visualize having more. So I say don't put any brakes on it. Like, go all out, right? But just understand that to actually manifest it, you have to be committed and consistent, if that makes sense.
I agree. Look, I stand corrected. I have no problem standing corrected. I
Well,
totally
no,
agree
it's
with
not like I'm trying to
everything you
say that what
said.
you were saying was
I'm glad.
wrong. No, I'm just saying, like,
No, but no,
because
but
I
you're
feel
right.
like
Because you know
I've.
why? Because
Mhm.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
No, I was just saying because I know that I've done that to myself, right? Like I've limited myself. Like, oh, this is the rational thing to want to materialize right now, right? Like it's almost like I used to love, and I still do to a certain extent. I used to love to go on Zillow and look at houses when I would have like my bank account would be overdrawn, and then I'd be like, well, why the fuck am I doing this? Like this makes no sense. But then it's like, well, how do you think that you're going to get from point A to point B unless you are a bit delusional? Like, there is a place for realism, there is a place for being realistic. But I don't think that that place is in your visualization or your desires. Because again, if you have the desire, that means it exists already. Like I like to say, the fact that you have, like, the desire is the trailer, which means that the movie has already been, it's already done. You don't get the trailer until the full movie is complete, right? So the fact that you have that desire means that it's already there, it exists already. And so I think a lot of times we just limit ourselves because that's what we're conditioned to do. I mean, just the whole thing of manifestation, look at how popular it is right now. 10, 15 years ago, people weren't talking about this shit like they are now. Not at
That's
all.
a fact.
So I feel like the fact that we're waking up is the fact that we're not just becoming conscious of different things that we can do, we're becoming conscious of our God selves. And God doesn't limit anything. So I don't either.
I shade to that. No, I totally, hey, drop a bomb to that. I agree with that. I agree with that. And you know what? I always say, be delusional. Be and sometimes even during this walk, sometimes you forget that. You know what I'm saying? So you always, and that's what this work is about too. Being reminded, being tapped in, and there's nothing. And I'm glad you said that even for myself, because there's things that I'm putting into my visions in the air, and I'm like, yeah, why can't it be big? You know what I'm saying? And there's things that I've manifested just, especially recently, like thinking this. So yeah, you're right about that. There really are no limits. I do want to say you have to definitely be working, and as you said, be consistent towards what you want to manifest. I think without, like you said, without that consistency, without putting in that work, like a lot of times people want to, sit down and manifest things, or I always talk about like people just want to chill and manifest. Like I don't have to do anything. I just have to think about it and manifest it and it's going to come. You got to outwork people. You can't just sit down and think that, oh, I don't have to do much. You got to put in the work. You got to put in the consistency. You got to put in the energy. As above, so below. If you're in a mansion, if you're sleeping in your car and that's all you're doing, right? Yes, you can manifest. There's no limits. But the chances are that it's going to take you a longer time versus if you worked 50 hours, versus if you put more energy into your dream and your goal, right? The chances are, because of the way energy works, the more energy you put in, the more energy you get out. It's just like you say, you want to manifest a six pack, right? That manifests muscles, but you sitting in the couch eating, drinking yoo-hoo and eating, what I'm saying, eating Doritos, right, all day. You're not gonna manifest that six pack or that nice body unless you put in some work. So, like you said, the aspect, and that's the Taurus, where the Sun in Taurus comes in, I think, as well, where you
Mm-hmm.
have to put in that work, like that bull energy to actually make what you want to create into reality. What you have in your head as above now make it so below, and you put it in the physical energy now towards the mental energy to make them both come together. Because that's what I've been doing, and that's what I've been seeing happening, right? The more work I've been putting in, the more I've been seeing coming out, the more I've been seeing my visions become coming into reality, and the more that I've been seeing even my so-called, I would say, discernment of certain things coming into reality. Talk to us about the sun and Taurus, Mel, and what we should be looking for also on that 420 day and how that applies.
So Sun in Taurus, it's going to shift your consciousness and shift your awareness and focus to material things. Taurus always gets the reputation of being materialistic, right? And that is true. But Taurus understands that the idea, the passion, the spark, the desire that Aries has to be grounded. And that's why Taurus is an earth sign, right? Because it's going to take that Aries energy and ground it, right? It's like Aries is like, yo, I want a mansion. All right. Taurus is like, I bet I got a hammer. I've got some 2x4s. We're going to build a foundation. We're going to build this from the ground up. We're going to put in that work and make that happen. So Taurus understands that Aries' desire needs some place to go. It needs some place to grow. It needs some place to stabilize itself. And so that's why finances come under the realm of Taurus, right? Because finances is a way that helps with our security. It's the foundation of a lot of things, right? And so that's where our consciousness is going to go when the sun goes into Taurus. It's a great time to focus on building things, especially things that you felt the desire for during Aries season. Now's the time to get to work. Now's the time to, all right, to use your example, you want to get a six pack, but you've been sitting on the couch all day. Well, guess what? During the eclipse, the commercial for Planet Fitness is going to come up. And that's going to be your cue to get the fuck up, go to Planet Fitness and get a
Right.
membership, right? And then during
Get that
tourist
$10
season, you
a
work
month,
that ass
right?
out. Like that's how
Right.
that works. So Taurus is taking action and doing things to build the foundation that takes you from desire to manifestation, basically.
Yeah, as above, so below energy, right? Because I always
Hmm.
say Aries season is Baphomet season, right? Or Bambajet or Kum. And Kum, this is Kemetic deities, but Kum is a potter, right? He's actually the what they call the potter of man or the creator of man. And that potter energy, it comes from you actually, like you said, putting action towards your desires, putting actual energy towards what you want, not just wishing things into existence, but using this energy to see what you want and then go after it and then make moves towards it. And a lot of times, I think we don't actually want to create things. Like we want money drawing herbs or herbs that are going to bring us money. We want deities that are going to bring us money. We want deities that are going to bring us love. We want herbs that are going to bring us love, right? We want ancestors that are going to bring us these things. But what are you doing in accordance to make these things into an actual tangible reality? What type of physical energy are you putting forth? What type of feeling are you putting forth in order to make these things become real? And if you're not putting any energy towards what you want and you just have a dream and a wish, then it's going to be rough for you, especially during the 7 year or God year. A year. God, first and foremost, is a creator before God's anything, right? Even if you go to the Bible with the let there be light, right? God's first and foremost a creator. So if you're not creating and putting anything forward, then you really have to question your spirituality. You really have to question who you truly are. And even in the case going back to the Dalai Lama situation, right? We're starting to see that it's not just enough to have the external look, right? Which is would be that energy or that light. It's not just enough to look like you're a prophet or look like you're a magician or look like you're a spiritual person. You have to really look deeper within that person and see how do they others. You know what I'm saying? What are they really doing when they're around people? What are they really putting out other than information? Because anybody could be articulate, right, and go to school and learn how to speak and influence, right? There's books, How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie, right? You could learn that just as a salesperson when I'm doing my sales, I'm a different person because I have to be in that mode. So it's easy to learn how to influence people. There's seminary schools for preachers, right? Where they literally talk about the bad things that happen. It's a problem, reaction, solution. Same marketing, same marketing. Talk about the bad that's happening in the world. Talk about how people reaction, and then the solution is Jesus, right? Not knocking it, but that's how the story goes, and that's how they teach you in seminary school. So you have to have an understanding of your problems, that you're not just looking to someone else to solve them, and that you're actually putting in that internal work and figuring out what are your values? What are your values about this? What are your values about that? If you are, yeah, I'm rooting for everybody black or everybody that looks for me. Why? What is it that's making you go that way? Are you neglecting your own dreams, your own goals, your own purpose because you want a whole community to win? You know, because people in
Mm,
certain communities, they don't think like that. They think, yes, we are part of a community, but it's what role can I play? Not why is somebody doing something to me, but what role can I play? What can I contribute? What can I give? What effort can I do? And first and foremost, you start with your immediate family, and then you extend out. Anything else you want to give the
mhm.
people, Mel?
Well, one
Oh,
thing I will
one more
say.
thing. I forgot to touch in. We have the
Hmm?
Mercury retrograde.
Oh,
No, go
yeah,
ahead,
yeah,
Mel.
yeah.
Go ahead, Mel.
Oh,
Go
okay.
ahead,
So
Mel.
I'll say what I have to say, and then we'll go back to Mercury retrograde. Um, so when it comes to
Okay.
manifesting, understand that it's never like you don't have to do it all by yourself. Like you have a spirit team, you are God, but you're little G, you work with the big G, right? And so I think where sometimes people get stuck is that you will get promptings, you will get intuitive nudges on what to do next, right? Where to go, who to talk to. But if you're not connected, if you're not tapped in, or even if you're tapped in but you don't trust yourself or you doubt yourself or you have a lot of resistance to things, those nudges, those directives, it's almost like they fall on deaf ears, and then you're like, oh well, manifestation doesn't work. It's not that it doesn't work, it's that you're not tapped in. So it like, and I love that because it means that I have people on the outside who can see a lot farther than I can, who can direct me. I just have to stay open and receptive. And so I think that a lot of us need to remember that and implement that, because it's not just we can create a lot, but our creation is limited because we are limited to the 3D for the most part, right? But those things that need to be changed, those mountains that that need to be moved, who do you think does that? And if you're not tapped into that, then it's a disconnect, right? It's like calling someone and the line gets crossed, or it's like calling someone and the call gets dropped, right? Like it just, there's no connection, so you can't hear that communication. But it's so important to be tapped in. It's so important to listen to your intuition, to listen to your spirit guides, because they will tell you loud and clear what to do, what not to do, where to go. And hopefully you can hear them, number one. And the second thing is you actually listen, because sometimes spirit will tell you to do things that you don't want to do, or that your logical mind thinks makes no absolute no sense. Like just last week, spirit told me to do something and I was like, no, you are bugging. No way am I doing this shit. And spirit was like, all right, I guess you don't want it then. And I was like, ah, fuck, okay. Okay,
Right.
I get it. So you have to be in that space where you are receptive and you're willing to be led. So it requires faith, it requires trust, not just in God or in your spirit team, but in yourself, to decipher
Yeah.
that what you're hearing, what you're intuitively receiving is if it makes sense. Like, if you do, I trust myself enough to know that this is for my highest good, that this is leading me in the right direction, even when it looks like it's leading you in the exact opposite direction. So that's all I had to say about that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. And because you will be led into a direction. Spirit will lead you into a direction. Like you said, spirit will tell you exactly what to do, right? And we'll have times. I definitely know me. I because I ran from this calling for so long. You'll have times where spirit will tell you do this or do that or start this, and you'll be like, nah, tomorrow, or nah, I don't know, or nah, how they gonna look at me, or what are they going to say if I do this? And then you come to a realization that once you start to do it, you realize that things in your life start to flow better. Things in your life start to manifest easier. Things and desires that you want start to come into reality much better. And as,
She
oh, look
wanted
at
to
the
make an
dog.
appearance.
Un
She wanted to
pedo.
make an appearance.
Look at the dog, cute dog. I like it. I like it. But yeah, look like that, right? The dog's coming in like, yo, I wanna
Right?
be here. I wanna come in. And that's eclipse energy right there. That's
Yeah,
how it is. That's how the
exactly.
eclipse energy is. It's forceful, it's strong, and it's ready to come in. So there's gonna be, and a lot
Exactly.
of sometimes things have to fall apart, right? Like the dog was barking, 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 right? Things like that have to happen to get your attention. So things might fall apart for you this week. Like Mel was
Mhm.
saying, you might not, we don't wish this on anybody, right? But you might lose your job, right? You might have an issue with your house. You might have an issue in your relationship. You might lose a friend, right? Things like this might happen. But there's something on the other side of that, right? If you look at the reason, the what of it, not just why, but the what, and what should I have done? What should I do moving forward? Right? If you look at the what and figure out what that is, there's breadcrumbs out there. There's a yellow brick road that wants to get you home, you know, that wants to get you home, but you got to click them heels. You got to get them heels moving, which is the metaphor, right? You got to click them heels. You got to move towards that. And if you move towards that, then you start to see the results. You start to see the things manifest. But if you don't click your heels towards that, if you don't pick up the signs, if you don't follow that yellow brick road, you're going to be back at square one. And it's going to just take you longer to get back. It's like raising your vibration, Mel, to me, right? When you raise your vibration, right, to a certain height and somebody brings it down, or a situation brings it, or you, not somebody, you allow the situation or the person or the thing to bring it down,
Mhm.
it takes
Mhm.
you a while to get it back to where it was at its peak, right? It's like you're a peak high vibe, and then something happens, you go low vibe. It takes you a while to get back to where you were. So you want to have, and that's what daily ritual is about, right? That's what daily practice is about. Morning practice, listening to things. Even Mel, what she was saying today, I needed to hear that, right? I needed to hear that as far as expanding the visions and expanding the goals, right? Be delirious about it, right? Don't be practical. Have that childlike mindset, that childlike imagination of you could have whatever you want. You could dream whatever you want into existence, right? But just like the kid playing with the toy to do it, right? You got to play with the toys that you have to do it. You got this computer, right? You got smartphones, right? We got more opportunities now in history to be wealthy, to have great partners all over the world, right? To have great networks all over the world. There's no one that should still be saying I hate humans or I hate humanity. You're doing yourself a disservice because people need people. You can't run a business without people. You can't make money without people. There's no way. Jeff Bezos sells books to people. That's how we started. But you need people, right? Not just to sell to, but you're going to need a team to help you eventually as you grow. So people need
Mhm.
people. People need people. You just want to be around the right people. So when you put your visions out, see those people in your life, right? See those people and seek mentors right here in the here and now that match your vision. People that are coaching you and going in that direction as well. Mel, talk to us about Mercury retrograde. That's coming out the day after the eclipse, which I
Mhm.
think is so interesting. That Mercury
Mhm.
retrograde is the day after. My sister was saying
It's
not to buy a car. You think she should not buy a car
true.
next week?
True. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Talk to us.
Mercury
Talk to us.
rules modes of transportation. So cars breaking
Mm,
down, trains breaking down, like that's just how like it's not to say that's guaranteed obviously, but I wouldn't be surprised if you buy a brand new car and then next week you have a problem with it. Like you got to take it to the mechanic or something crazy. So
mm,
Mercury rules all kind of mishaps when it comes to modes of transportation, electronics, all that good stuff, right? But Mercury retrograde in Taurus is all about money. It's all about values. And apart from Mercury just meaning that you redo things, it's really a time to reflect. And so if we're talking about Mercury in Taurus and values, we're talking about how we value ourselves. our self-worth, our self-esteem, right? And for some, a lot of that is tied to money or is tied to material things. And I feel like Mercury retrograde in Taurus is going to give you the opportunity to really reflect on that. You may find that certain situations make you reflect on that. For instance, losing a job, right? Especially if you've tied your identity to what it is that you do. Let's say you do something that's great, that brings in a lot of money, and now all of a sudden that dries up. And now you're like, well, who am I outside of that? How do I like, what
Right.
worth do I have if I don't have this job? Right? That's a very, I have been there. And that's a very tough realization to come to. But it shows you that your value cannot be in just the material. It can't just be in a job. It can't just be in a title. It can't just be in a bank account. Value, personal value, self worth is so much more than that. And that may be the lesson that Mercury retrograde is trying to reinforce within you, right? um don't just, and this goes with any Mercury retrograde, don't just think of it what everyone has you believe it is, right? Yes, your cell phone might act up. Yes, you may reply all when you should have just sent the email to the one person. And yes, your raggedy ass ex may give you a hey big head what's going on type shit. Yes, those are all possible. Okay. However, if you use the energy for what it is, and I already had an ex hit me up, and I'm just like, "Ugh, are you for real? Like, you are real textbook shit." But anyway, it's about reflection. It's about it's about redoing things. That's one of the blessings of any retrograde planet. It's almost like the way that the astrology is set up, meaning that the way that the universe is set up, you have a chance to move forward and then you have a chance to recalibrate. That's what retrograde is, right? And apart from the moon and the sun, every single planet goes retrograde at some point during the year, right? Some are more effective than others, but because Mercury is the fastest moving planet, that's the one that affects us the most. And because Mercury is all about our thoughts and communication, it gives you a chance to re examine your thoughts, which is super important because thoughts become things. So you get a chance to redo things, especially if they didn't work out the first time around, especially if things didn't pan out the way that you wanted them to, or maybe, things just aren't as you would like them to be. You get a redo, right? And the thing that you get to redo really depends on where Mercury is going retrograde. And so for us in April, the fact that it's Taurus, it's money matters. Right? This is a chance to get your money right, but most importantly, it's a chance to get your mind right with respect to money. And that is a sore spot for people, I've come to realize. Because we put such a high value on money, having it or not having it becomes a large part of our identity. It becomes a large part of how we view ourselves, how we think about
Mm,
ourselves. Right? And so
that's a fact.
this
Right.
retrograde, it's going to be a lot more than just money situations coming back. I feel like this is going to be a very triggering thing for people, especially because it is right on the heels of the eclipse. Now, the eclipse happening in Aries, Aries is all about the self. And the eclipse being a solar eclipse, it's the sun and the moon conjunct. Not only is the sun exalted in Aries, meaning that the energy of the sun is super powerful, but this is all about our personality. But most importantly, it's about our ego. And I feel like Mercury retrograde in Taurus, especially if people
Mm,
have issues with respect to money, with respect to values. And it's not even just having money or not having money. One of the perfect examples that I've encountered and then I realized that a lot of other people encounter are like, let's say like you're a business owner, right? Charging your worth, right, is a big deal. And it's not just tied to having money, it's tied to how you value yourself. And I feel like the eclipse with
and
Mercury
your time.
retrograde, right? The eclipse with Mercury retrograde, like that shit is going to come back into your face, right? And it may be a very emotional, very sensitive time because whenever you talk about money, whenever you talk about values, that shit hits people really hard because, you're talking about how people feel about themselves. But there's no better time. And I love the fact that this Mercury retrograde is right on the heels of the eclipse. Like, going back to the example I gave, that you suddenly get fired, you suddenly get laid off during this eclipse season, it's going to be a tough road, right? Because especially if you, like I said before, like you tied your identity to what you did for a living or how much money you made or any of those things, this is going to get you to rewire how you think, not only about money, but how you think about yourself. And it's a chance for growth, right? Because keep in mind, all of this is happening with Jupiter not that far away, and Jupiter is all about growth. So if you can,
Mm-hmm.
and this is, I'm
Mm-hmm.
about to go in a little bit of a different direction, but the fact that all of this is happening in Aries, Taurus, Aries is combative, right? But a lot of times our biggest enemies are ourselves. It's our own resistance to things. It's our own ideas about ourselves. It's our own beliefs about ourselves that we're literally fighting sometimes. And the fact that this eclipse is going down in Aries in close proximity to both Jupiter and Chiron is like, if you are willing to go to battle with yourself, between your old self and your new self, you will free yourself from the shackles of your old story and you will soar. Okay. But it's not easy. It's not easy. And the way that you can see where you are is via your relationships. Remember, I said you can't talk about Aries without talking about Libra. Libra is the relationships. And I know that when I'm on some low vibrational shit, I all the low vibrational motherfuckers in my life find their way back to me, right? And they show me where I'm at right now. They
They
show
damn
me
sure do.
where I'm vibing,
That's a fact.
right? And so that lets me know, yo, I need to fix myself. Not fix myself like I'm broken, but I need to address this because clearly this is where I'm at, right? And so, but it's also, it's very eye-opening because it shows you your old story, or at least the story that you've been tied to, right? And so if you're willing to go to battle with your old story and say, no, you're not winning. Like, no, this is my new story. This is the story I'm telling myself now. This is the reality that I'm trying to manifest. Then you will literally, you'll have no choice but to expand. So one of the, and I'm about to get just a little into Chiron right now, because I think Chiron plays an important part in this. So Chiron is the wounded healer, right? Chiron basically represents our insecurities, our fears, our
Of
hang
course.
up, all of that stuff. But the mythology of Chiron is that in Greek mythology, Chiron was a centaur, right? Half man, half horse, and very, very smart. But he also had a soft spot for man. Okay. And so if you are familiar with Greek mythology, there was a god named Prometheus, and Prometheus gave fire to mankind. As a punishment, Prometheus was chained to a rock where an eagle would eat his liver every day. And then at night, the liver would regrow so that the next day the eagle could re eat his liver. Okay. So, horrible situation to be in. So, Chiron, in his desire to help humanity, decided to trade places with Prometheus. So he decided to let Prometheus go, and he instead would endure the pain that Prometheus was relegated to, right? And then Zeus, who, funny enough, is representative of Jupiter. Jupiter and Zeus are the same thing. So Zeus, taking pity on Chiron, freed him and allowed him to be a god. So it is no coincidence that Jupiter is next to Chiron right now. So that means that if you are willing to sacrifice, if you are willing, like I said, to battle your old story, you will be granted freedom. You will be granted freedom from that old story and you will expand, right? Jupiter is all about expansion, but the fact that Jupiter, aka Zeus, made Chiron a god, what do you think that means for you? Now your god self is really going to come alive. This is a super important time. So definitely heed what I am saying. If you are willing to battle your old story, if you're willing to fight your old story and conquer your old story with your new story, you will fully step into your God self. So Keep that in mind when the universe throws you a crazy curveball, perhaps during the solar eclipse. Stick to your new story. Do not let your old story win. Do not let that low vibrational stuff take over, because if you are able to conquer it, you will fully step into your God self. Okay. So, this is a super, super, super important time. All right. And again, you're going to have, it's not going to be easy though. Like I said before, it's not going to be easy because you may have wounds coming up from the past. Insecurities are being slapped in your face. You've got relationships that are mirroring the worst parts of you. You've got conflict with other people. It's not to say that all of this is going to happen, but these are themes that could play out at this time, right? It's so important to push past those things, to conquer those things. Don't let those things stop you. Don't let them be obstacles in your pathway to expansion. Because again, if you conquer that, you will expand beyond your wildest imagination. Trust and believe. Okay. So it's a very powerful time right now. If you allow yourself to tap into the energy and use it rather than allowing it to use you. Because trust and believe, eclipses, like I said, they can bring some wild ass shit, some crazy ass energy. And it's very easy to fall into like victimhood. It's very easy to fall into why is this happening to me? Or just getting stuck in the fact that it happened. Yes, it happened. It may not be an ideal situation, but what is it taking you to? What is it bringing you toward? What is it shifting your focus to? And what is it showing you about yourself? If you can answer those three questions, I think you're going to be golden with these transits.
Yeah. First of all, let me hit that applause. She was dropping pure, pure bombs, pure flames upon the head tops. So I appreciate that. Yeah, I learned a lot from that. Just with people, the reflections, the people you're around are very important. They say, show me your friends, I can show you your future. That's really true. The five closest people towards you are going to be the people that you are eventually going to be. So if you hang around the people that aren't doing what you're supposed to, well, not supposed, but where you're trying to go, that are moving according to your purpose, they're going to slow you down. You know, if they're not, like they say, if they're not holding you up, they're slowing you up. If they're not going according to your purpose, then there may be a harsh separation. The sun is pretty much like they say, if you can't stand the heat, get out the kitchen. But when you're cooking, the kitchen's going to get hot regardless, right? If you're cooking in the summer, the kitchen's going to get hot. You have to stay in the heat in order to make your meal, right? So, like Mel was saying, things might happen, things might fall apart, things might be out of control. Who knows what's going to happen? But you have to stay, like I like to stay on your marathon. Where are you trying to go? What is your vision? Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about that a lot too. As far as
Mhm.
every day waking up to see the new you, not waking up to see the past. When you wake up in the morning, like the first 15 minutes of the morning, I say are the most valuable time, is the most valuable time of the day. First of all, you just left the astral world, right? You just left the world that you were in before you came here in this human vessel that they called the baby. So that's the world, you were in the astral world, right? Then you came as a human vessel called the baby. So when you're dreaming, you're back in that world essentially. And when you're sleeping, you're back in that world. So the first 15 minutes, hypnotic, reprogram yourself. So you want to see your day, first of all, for what it is. And each day that you start to visualize yourself in this state of joy, in this state of happiness, in this state of manifestation. Hey, you're in your Bentley, you're in your house, right? And if those things are too big, like Mel said, start with an apartment. Start with a bigger apartment. Start with a bigger place, a nicer car, whatever it is, a car itself, right? Start with those things and then move on to the big things. But you have to know that it's not believe, right? Can't be a state of belief. You have to know that these things will manifest. Once you know that these things will manifest, your ancestors, your spirit team, your spirit guides, they're going to show you. the angels or the angles of light will start to reflect those things out into the material world for you. But you have to be willing to go through the ups and downs and still maintain focus. There's something that manifested this year that I literally, the only thing I had to do was stop smoking weed every day for it to manifest. I was trying to do that shit all last year and I thought it wasn't going to manifest. Like the whole year. Towards the end of the year, I started to be like questioning my own self, like, shit, does this shit work? And I done manifested dozens of things that I wanted in my life. I know it works. You know what I'm saying? Literally, like I have evidence. I have books of evidence. Like I have my own grimoire of evidence of things that I've done and spells that I've casted that have manifested. So I know this stuff works if you work it. But I was like, is this things really work? But Spirit, all last year, 2021, nigga, you need to stop smoking weed every day. You need to stop smoking weed like this. It's holding you back. You're missing appointments. You're not on time for things. This and that. You don't have enough drive. You don't have enough energy. That's for me. Now, you may be able to smoke I've said this before. You may be able to smoke every day and you're good. You know what I'm saying? This is what it was for me. But there's something for you, too, that you got to stop doing. It could be stop having so much sex. It could be stop watching so much porno. It could be stop eating so many chocolate cakes or chocolate cookies. It could be you stop partying every week. It could be you taking a Friday or Saturday and going on the computer and focusing on what the business plan is or what your business is going to look like. It could be you going to a networking event or taking time out to, take a course for what you need, right? It could be taking a class. It could be going back to school. It could be a number of things, right? Quitting smoking, like Straight Panther saying, right? Smoke. Some people smoke cigarettes, right? Quitting smoking cigarettes. Whatever it is that's holding you back from manifesting the purpose that you're here for. Remember, God, the divine, the creator, whatever you want to call it, right, wants you to come here to manifest the best version of yourself so that you can move the planet forward for the next generation and the next generation creation. The fact that we have a computer where Mel's in a whole nother state and I'm in a whole nother state, but we could both be here talking, and not only that, talk to you, is a miracle. If you talk to somebody in 1970, this was something on the Jetsons. You know what I'm saying? This was on a cartoon. People didn't think of smartwatches. I remember reading Dick Tracy cartoons in the paper as a kid where they had smartwatches and it was just a figment of imagination. Will Smith, enemy of the state, right? With him being tracked by satellites and having trackers on his watch and trackers in his belts. That was fiction. It would never happen. But we're living in 2023 and it's all happening, right? So imagine the movies that we're watching now that we think is science fiction is going to be science fact in the next 10, 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Enemy in the State was in 1993. You see 2023, all those things are here. And we're here before 2023. So imagine 2043
Mm.
and the movies that we're watching now in 2023. So our visions are not simply trapped in, and that's why the opening of the third eye, right? The meditation is important. The eating more green foods that contain more light is important, right? Trying to eat healthier, drinking more water instead of drinking all that damn Pepsi and Coke, right, all the time. The complaining is detrimental, right? Because you want to have a clear mind so you could download these ideas, so you could take in this information, so you could take in this light and see again these paths that are here for you, see these opportunities that are here for you, and have the energy to capitalize on them. Because you could get the idea, but if you don't make a move on it, the way the universe works going to go to somebody else. The universe is going to be like, "Oh, you ain't making a move on it. This idea, and this is what we need in order to create the next StreamYard. This is what we need to create the next great platform." Like the kid who's using this StreamYard app. Like if you look at this kid looks like a little hillbilly kid. He was like looks like a 17-year-old, like deformed kid. No disrespect to him. But this is what most people are using, like StreamYard, Restream, all these apps. If you look at who created them, they're young kids. Why ain't nobody that looks like us creating them? But yet we're complaining, right? About what these people are doing. They're blocking us from this. They're suspending us from this. We got a week off from this. We're in Facebook jail, YouTube jail. Well, what's the alternatives? Those alternatives just to complain all day, right? You can't create from complaining. So this is what time is about. And if things fall apart, right, you still have to stick to your guns and go. And I can say that's what I did, right? And I just had to make some adjustments, and I'm still making adjustments. And we all will still continue to make adjustments. It's a journey, right? It's a marathon, not a sprint. So once you got there, don't ever think you always got it. That's why I'm humble enough to say, yo, you're right, Mel. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm always learning. I'm a lifelong student as well as a teacher. I'm always learning. And there's times you're going to need a refresher in your life. You're going to need somebody or something to create a aha spark. But those sparks are going to come this week. I promise you, this week, next week, like Mel is saying, you're going to get those sparks. You're going to get these things that's going to happen. And they're going to be in your face, all of us, right? With things that you got to let go, things that you move from because of the high solar energy that's going to be in the building. With that being said,
Mhm.
anything you got for the people, Mel?
No, I think that's it. I
Anything
think we
else you
pretty
want to
much
lay on
covered
us
everything.
about the stars?
No, I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
we're all gonna pretty much have our hands full with whatever is happening this week. And not, I don't, this is not fear
Mm-hmm.
mongering. I don't want people to think the worst or feel like you have to brace yourself for the worst. But eclipse energy can be very surprising. And just understand that if things fall apart, it's because something else is meant to come back together better. So try not to think of things as, oh my gosh, I lost this. What you're losing could pale in comparison to what you're about to gain. And so you just got to keep your eyes on the prize. You have to stay focused, keep your vision in mind, keep visualizing and learn to roll with the punches because I feel like eclipse energy is going to have you rolling with the punches for real.
Yeah, when you get hit, in a boxing match, you have to keep fighting. You can't give up just because you get a hit or because you get, uppercutted a couple times. You have to keep fighting. And you might even get knocked down, but winners get back up. And sometimes those people win, from continuously fighting. The most spiritual nursery song is this: row, row, row your boat, your body being your boat, right? This vehicle that you're in that's housing your soul, right? And channeling spirits. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream, right? Gently down the stream of consciousness, gently down the ups and downs or the river of life, right? Merrily, 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 right? Happy, joyfully, right? Great gratitude, right? And abundance and thinking great about yourself and having a great self image, great consciousness, great ideas, great mindsets, aligning yourself with people that are thinking great, that are thinking along where you want to go, right? Because life is a dream, right? So even though we're telling you things will
Mm.
fall apart, that doesn't mean you can't still have a good spirit. Doesn't mean you're still not going to wake up and be grateful that you have another day to do it again. Doesn't mean you're not going to still do your rituals in the morning and your rituals and your meditations and whatever, daily work doing, if that's what you want to do in order to get yourself together, right? But you have to make sure that you know that punches are going to come. Like in life, you're going to have ups and downs. There's no way around it, no matter how much spiritual work you're going to do. But you have to still, again, stay focused on where you're going, stay focused on your preparation work, stay focused on it's just like a boxer. The boxer that gets up still goes back with the same, stance, still goes back with the same game plan that he got when he was training, right? When he was sparring in the ring, he still goes back with the same game plan. He doesn't deviate from it. So stick with your game plan. And if you don't have one, create one. With that being said, Mel, tell them where they could find you, how they could get that work from you.
Divine Feminine Works on all platforms. You could visit my website, divinefeminineworks.com. I do natal chart, progress natal chart consultations. I also do readings. Hit me up on Instagram. I also have YouTube channel, Divine Feminine Works, where I do the weekly astro forecast every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Excellent, excellent. I told most of the people that do readings with me, but if somebody's new to want to do a reading, I will not be doing any readings this week. This week I'm focusing, locked in on this Aries, this Eclipse energy. What I've been told, my dreams and my visions is very powerful. I'm actually going to be getting the readings this week, couple readings, so myself. So yeah, this is the new year. This is literally this is the new year that they told you was in January. This is it, Aries season going, and we're going into Taurus, the second month, right? So, what are your values? What type of money do you want to make? You know, the bricks, and look, there's always going to be. I told you I was locked up. You think we was trading when we was gambling? When we was locked up, what do you think we was gambling with dollars? No, we had another form of currency. We was using cigarettes. You was using soups. We was using cans of Jack Mackerel, right? So there'll always be a form of currency to trade something for another, whether it's crypto. We got shout out to Aquarius Maximus. She got Guap coin, right? There's people with crypto
Mm-hmm.
coins out there that we could use to trade, right? I don't want to say it's better because a lot of people are going to panic. But if people once people get through the panic, they're still going to need to exchange goods. So they're still going to need to know how to exchange goods and use a medium for exchange. So again, because of my experience, I understand that. Look, you if the dollar falls, the dollar falls. What the fuck? We didn't always have dollars. We didn't always have dollars. We didn't always have cash. If it falls out as if it falls off from the reserve country, so what? That's not a reason to be fearful, right? And if you think, oh, they're gonna track whatever you do, I have news for you. They're already tracking everything you do. You're using
They've
Cash
been
App, you're using
tracking everything
Venmo,
you do.
you know. You got them OnlyFans account that's showing up on your bank statements. They know what you're doing. Like they already know. Look, say Macy's 3 times, right? I'm saying Macy's 3 times. Watch the next ad that's gonna come up on my phone is gonna be an ad for Macy's.
You don't even
You
have
know
to
what I'm
say
saying?
it
That's really
anymore.
what
You
this
just
is. What
think
it
it,
is. They
and it's
know.
like,
They know what you're doing. Like so all that you're afraid and they're gonna watch me and they're like, nah, you're good. Don't think like that. Be willing to adapt and adjust. Remember, you're a creator first and foremost. If you say you're a god body, you're a creator. So you will create and think your way and strategize your way out of any situation. Okay, you will innovate your way out of any situation. So don't worry. Be happy. All right, y'all. Thank you for tapping in with me another Sunday. Hit that like button, hit that shares button, hit that subscribe button. Mel's gonna be live tomorrow at 7.
mm-hmm, at 7.
Yep. Tomorrow at 7. So check out Mel's channel, Divine Feminine Works. Go over there, hit a subscribe, hit the like for it. All right. Another like for the YouTube algorithm. Tell me what you think about these shows. Hit the comment section for me. That helps the YouTube algorithm as well. And I will see you guys soon. I know I always say I'm gonna do something later, but definitely before this eclipse, I got something special. Already got the slides loaded up. So I've been kind of going hard at work, but I had some time this weekend. So I got the slides loaded up. I'll see y'all most likely I'll see y'all Wednesday this week. All right. And with that being said, peace, palm, prosperity to y'all.
Peace, everyone.